being so heroic. It's a terrible, frightening battle. And yet everybody listens with great eagerness, and it produces joy in the heart. Right? Especially when it's all over, and everybody on Ram's side comes back to life by the mercy of Lord Ram. But more than that, and in the story of Sita's separation, and the painful stories of her being tormented and tortured by Rakshasas in the garden behind Ravan's palace, people would weep and weep, and yet they would come back night after night to hear it again and again. And Gaudiya says it's because in Ram's pastimes, something special is introduced that we did not see in any incarnation before that. On this day, we read and sing songs about the different avatars that come, principal avatars. You have avatars like Matsya, Kurma, you have Nrsingadev, Vamandev, Kapila Dev has come, Parshuram. And those pastimes are quite extraordinary, and they create a sense of awe in the heart and appreciation for the Lord. But they don't touch the heart like the pastimes of Sri Ram. Because Sri Ram came to show a very special kind of pastime. He is known as Maryad Purushottam. Right? He came to show the qualities and activities of the perfect human being, the perfect king, the perfect husband, perfect father. Everything Ram did, he did exactly and perfectly according to the Dharma. And he did this, like all incarnations, the Lord comes to remove atheistic, materialistic influence, demoniac influence on the world, and to establish religion. Right? Paritranaya sadhanam, vinashaya chaduskatam, dharma samstarvarakaya, sambhavami. This is what the Lord explains in Bhagavad Gita. And Lord Ram came to institute and perfectly practice and establish the Dharma, the religious codes which we still try to follow to this day. But there's something else in his pastimes also, which had not been seen before. And this is explained by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then revealed to us by Srila Gurudev. Mahaprabhu also greatly appreciated the pastimes of Lord Ram. In fact, he would sometimes, with his associates, reenact them. Taking the role of Ram or Lakshman, he would storm the gates of Sri Lanka, the palace of Ravan, in their own dramatic play. Nityananda Prabhu, as a child, also reenacted those pastimes in great detail, but also not just acting them out, but also experiencing the deep moods that these pastimes evoke. And what moods are we talking about? When we talk about love of God, before Mahaprabhu, something was not understood about the nature of transcendental love, praying. That it actually has different levels. That before this, most people were worshiping the Lord in a form of great reverence, right? Shantaras, and sometimes invoking a mood of dasya or servitude. But basically, those moods were expressed, to Vaikhanas, the Lord Narayan, to the Lord on high, and we are very low and down here, and we're worshiping with great fear, awe, submission, but deeper emotions of the heart were not developed. But Mahaprabhu taught that there are three other moods or mellows that can be expressed and experienced in love of God. And the first one is Sakya, where one can feel that the Lord and themselves are actually friends. Maybe the most famous friend of the Lord is Arjuna, because everybody's read Bhagavad Gita, and Krishna was so dear to Arjuna, and Arjuna was so dear to Krishna, that Krishna became his charioteer. He would be his messenger, his protector. They were so intimate. Higher than that is the mood of Vatsalya, or parental affection. And this had not been really shown before to any great degree. But in Ram Leela, you see Dasharatha, Kaushalya, all the other queens. If you read Ramayana, you read about all these sweet, sweet relationships with Ram and his brothers as they were little boys, as they were growing up, the mood of protecting and nurturing and caring and educating and protecting my child, all that was there in the Ramayana. And that attracts our heart because we know about the feelings between a parent and a child. That's very desirable. And perhaps, one time, how do I end this? Time myself for 10 minutes. Jai Jai Shri Sripad Govinda Gaudiya Matha Jai Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Siddharshi Chakra Jai Shri Satchinandana Gaura Hari Jai Jai Shri Guru Parampara Gururaj Maharaj Jai. So that Vatsalya, this parental affection, this is explored in Ram's pastimes, where Dasharatha had such affection for his son that by circumstance, when he had to banish him, the separation that he endured for just a few days, thinking that I won't see him for another 14 years, he left his body. It's such an extraordinary example that when Uddhava went to Vrindavan to console Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda while Krishna was away in Mathura, he was praising Nanda Maharaj as a great father. And he was saying, you shouldn't feel bad when the son is gone. He's the Lord himself. And you're always with him. He's always in your heart. And he said, you're calling me a good father? Dasharatha is a good father. A good father. He was so much in love with his son that when his son left, he died in separation. This is explored in great detail. When we were in Jaipur in 2002, Srila Gurudev went down there. Did you go there? First couple of days were here and there. The last 3 days were in a Hanuman temple. And Gurudev Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj began to speak about Ramayana and about these moods. And the first night there was 50, 60 people there. Next night there was double. By the last night, hundreds and hundreds of people wanted to hear Gurudev expounding about praying in its deeper moods as revealed in Ram Leela. And so that parental affection, Dasharatha, Kaushalya, Kaikeyi, even her, there's some secrets about her and her deep love for Ram. And then, we didn't discuss, but Sakyaras, he had friends, he had his brothers, they were in that kind of affectionate relationship, and his relationship with Sita, his deep, deep love for his wife. And when Ravan had kidnapped her, he didn't know where she was. The pain he experienced and the mixture of emotions, anger, determination to avenge this, all these moods of the hero and the relationship of love and Sita's love for Ram. When she's in this garden being threatened by Rakshasas, you're going to be eaten if you don't surrender to our Lord Rama. You have just a few more days. I don't care, I'll give up my life. She had no interest at all in preserving her life. It was dedicated only to the service of Lord Rama. When Lord Rama was going to go to the forest, he ordered Sita to stay back. You're too delicate. You're the daughter of a king. You can't go to the forest like I'm going to do and perform these austerities. She became angry at him, as only a wife of deep love could. What? Am I not your wife? You're telling me that you're going to go and be separate? My duty is always to be with you, always to serve you. Of course I will go. You have nothing to say. And she endured all the tribulations and hardships, but at the same time had such a loving, warm countenance and encouraged and counseled and did so much for him. So the mood of love between husband and wife was explored in such depth. And then when Lord Ram had to ultimately banish her, for the terrible reason of some low-class citizen having some doubt about her chastity. Yet, as a perfect king, he had to do this to set an example. Then again, the love between the two of them, the deep, unremitting love that even though she was banished, Sita never gave up her absolute devotion to her Lord, and Ram never gave up his absolute devotion to Sita. He was encouraged to marry again so that he could do some big yajna. And he said, I won't marry again. You can't, you have to. You can't do this yajna unless you have a wife. I'm not taking a wife. Sita is my only wife. And kings can take so many wives, so many concubines. He said, no, I have only one love. So he was showing this incredible kind of unflinching devotion. Ultimately, he agreed to create a deity, a perfect replica of Sita. And they used that in her place so that he could do the yajna. So all of these moods and sentiments are in the Ramayana, introduced for the first time, the nature of God and the nature of love that can be exchanged with him in a variety of moods, not just awe and reverence, but the Lord also in a personal relationship where you could have some mood of servitorship in a perfect way, like Hanuman, or in friendship, like his brothers and some others, the parental affection that we have discussed, and ultimately the relationship between husband and wife in such an exalted and purified way. So, this is why Mahaprabhu loved Ram Leela so much, our Gurudev Bhaktivedanta so much, was raised as a Ram Bhakta, and had so much affection, and he would tell these stories quite frequently. And one time somebody asked him, they said, Srila Gurudev, you've always told us that if we want to be perfect in our relationship with Radha and Krishna, that we have to be completely one-pointed in what we hear, what we chant, who is our Ishtadev, and worshiping them exclusively. And yet we see that you have so much affection for Ram and Leela, and for Ram and Sita, and you talk about these pastimes in such an amazing way. How are we to reconcile that? And he said, oh, it's because when I think of Lord Ram, I think, oh, this is my Krishna, this is my Radha. And they're just enacting another kind of pastime. They've taken this special form to enact this pastime. And that's what it is. Krishna expands himself, he is Radha. Srimati Radhika is Sita Devi. They're showing us another side of them. And one time, Mother Yashoda, in order to help Krishna take rest, was telling him stories about Lord Ram. And when he got to the section where Sita had been kidnapped, little Krishna, little boy, sprang up in the bed and imagined himself with a bow, pulled it back, and said, I will kill that Ravan, I will kill that demon. Krishna himself loves the pastimes of Lord Ram. And when Nityananda was asked about this same thing, when they were doing these pastimes, Nityananda was going different from Baladev, and they said, you seem to be so immersed and understand these pastimes so much. He said, well, they're my own pastimes. These are my own pastimes. So we won't have so much time today for speaking, so I just wanted to bring that point up for your consideration, because I've heard from Gurudev many times about this. That remember, when you hear about Lord Ram, he's not different from Krishna, and he's introducing the platform by which we come to understand Radha and Krishna's Leela, Krishna in Dwarka, and ultimately Krishna and Radhika in Vrindavan. But the gateway to all of that are the pastimes of Lord Ram, which are so beautiful and so enchanting. Okay. All glories to Sri Sita Ram, Sri Ramachandra, all glories to the associate Parivar, all glories to Hanumanji, the best servant. Jai, Jai, Jai. Oh, I know that. I would have stuck a few more minutes in. Anyway, it's late, and none of you have eaten or anything. So when you go home, read Ramayana.
Sunday.
Oh yeah, Sunday they're going to have a big program here, all about this. I'm going to be in New York, and they're going to do the same thing there. They're going to have a big festival there for Lord Ramachandra on the weekend. Okay.